So in the latest chapter of One Piece, Oda gave us a 10-minute timer before Vegapunk's message gets released to the world. This is something that the world government does not want to happen. So much so that Saint Saturn at the end of 1109 summons the rest of the Gorosei to assist him in stopping this broadcast. This is one of the only times in One Piece where the countdown does not pertain to the Straw Hats' demise. This doesn't pertain to the Straw Hats losing an island or losing Nakama, no. This is a countdown for the bad guys. And here's the thing, they don't even know where the broadcast is coming from. When Saint Saturn summons the 4 other elders, it's based off of Jupiter's assumption that the broadcast is coming from the Labo phase, but it is just that, an assumption. He does not know for sure. None of the Gorosei know. While I do expect the Gorosei next chapter to see Luffy and try to throw hands with him to no avail, I do think that Luffy is not going to be their priority in the slightest. They are going to be playing prop hunt here on Egghead Island to no avail. And the reason I say no avail is because I want to believe that Vegapunk is a smart man. So now let me elaborate on why I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the 10-minute timer in the back of my head. So while on one hand, it's nice that the enemies have to deal with this, on the other hand, I do not like the prospect of Vegapunk leaving a door open for the Gorosei or the world government to shut his message down. He is the world's smartest man. If stopping his broadcast and or final message is as simple as destroying a single building on the Labo phase of Egghead Island, then I would be pretty disappointed. But I don't think that's the case. I want to believe in Vegapunk, and I want to believe that even if the Gorosei destroy the entirety of Egghead Island, that this message will still go through. There's a lot of different ways for Oda to play with this broadcast signal. I mean, straight up, it doesn't even have to be here on Egghead Island. This broadcast could be played from Kamabaka Queendom, for all we know. Because in this chapter, Ivankov kind of alludes to the notion that he's met Vegapunk in the past. So maybe Vegapunk went to Kamabaka Queendom and dropped the radio tower there. There are a lot of possibilities. And hey, who's to say that this isn't just some sort of awakening power of the Nomi Nomi no Mi, which is the devil fruit that Vegapunk has. There's a lot of ways for Vegapunk to get his message out no matter what. Because we do have to remember that in this chapter, Vegapunk, the world's smartest man, said that the chances of someone stopping this broadcast are enormously low. I want to believe in Vegapunk's odds right here. And this is one thing that struck me as really odd. But it's the fact that none of the Straw Hats know about this broadcast. Sanji is still telling Vegapunk to wake up. Nami, Usopp, and Chopper are looking down like, hey, what's going on with Vegapunk's message? What is that over here, right? Nobody knows what's happening. There is no mission to save the broadcasting tower in the Labo phase. The Straw Hats were not told that. Edison didn't say anything. Atlas didn't say anything. And it's like, okay, I think that this broadcast is safe because it's not here. Of course, though, I do have to mention that my Edison and Atlas point are kind of moot because they are not a part of the message whatsoever, but still, they are a satellite, right? Like, surely they would know that there's some broadcasting tower on the island and say, hey, I think it's coming from over there. Maybe we should do something about this. But you know what? None of the satellites even mention Vegapunk's death. Hell, after Vegapunk dies, we get no reactions from any of the satellites. So personally, I do believe there is some big brain move at play that we just do not see yet. So now, going back to the Gorosei, I do think they're going to catch a massive L when it comes to this broadcast. I do not think that they can actually stop it. So in that front, they're going to lose. And now on the other front, the Straw Hat front, they're gonna lose as well because they're so focused on this broadcast that Luffy and his gang will be able to escape. And I know it would be really lovely if we could beat the Gorosei here and now, but that isn't the prerogative for Luffy. Even in 1109, Luffy says that his job is to keep Saturn and Kizaru in check while his friends escape. And hey, Frankie is on the ship, Sanji's about to arrive on the ship, Brook is flying off the cliff, like everybody's getting ready to leave. So with so many Straw Hats already ready to go, I do think it is going to be pretty smooth for us, considering that the Gorosei are going to be, you know, scrambling around the island. So now let's talk about the Gorosei a little bit, because their powers are a little bit strange. And I've come to that realization by simply watching Saturn, and I'm sure many of you guys understand that Saturn is a little bit strange as well. So when he was first introduced, he looked like this awakened Zoan, right? He looked like the Ushi Oni, which is what a lot of people, came to the conclusion to. The Ushi Oni is a Japanese yokai. It's this weird spider ox bull hybrid thing that lives off the coast of Japan. It's really bewildering how people come up with this, but I absolutely love it. I love demon designs. So yeah, Saturn being the Ushi Oni makes a lot of sense. And not to mention, the Ushi Oni's power in lore, or I guess mythology, is that they can stare at you, put you in a trance, and send you straight to hell. And hey, what do you know? Saturn can pretty much do just that, right? He could stare at Sanji and injure him. He can stare at Vegapunk and the rest of them, and they can't move a muscle. He has powers akin to that of the Ushi Oni. But where it gets weird is what happened in the last 2 chapters. So in 1108, when Sanji and Luffy were squared up against Saturn, Saturn started coating his body in venom. Venom so strong that it was melting trees, it was melting the ground. It was actually kind of crazy. And that's where I was like, okay, we are transcending the Ushi Oni lore that, is available online here in America. Maybe in Japan, the Ushi Oni is infamous for its venom, but at least from the research I've done, I don't know anything about that. So yeah, I was like, okay, that's a little bit strange, but hey, in the Road to Laugh Tale, Oda mentioned that mythological Zoan devil fruits sometimes have paramecia properties. We see that with Luffy. He's the sun god, but he's rubbery and he has fire. We see that in Sengoku. He's the Buddha, but he can create shockwaves. We have Yamato, who is, sorry, I always forget Yamato's model name, but there's Yamato, and Yamato can shoot ice beams. There's a lot of mythological devil fruits that have 1 or 2 quirks to them. So Saturn having the Ushi Oni devil fruit and producing venom, sure, let's give it to him. But where it gets really wacky is when, in 1108 and 1109, Saturn starts whipping out these rubbery-like attacks. So in 1108, he does this weird, octopus tentacle thing, tries to hit Luffy, tries to hit Sanji, but obviously he misses all of them because Luffy's too fast and Sanji's too fast, so it's a little bit embarrassing. But then we get to this chapter. Luffy slaps him away, turns him into pizza, throws him in the trash. Saturn ends up spinning right back at him. And not only that, but he uses this weird, almost Gum Gum Gatling against Luffy. And not to mention, speaking of Gum Gum Gatling, what Saturn does here is reminiscent of the Gomu Gomu no UFO, which is an attack that Luffy has used in the past. So it's like, wait a minute, the Venom stuff, I can give a pass to. But the rubbery properties that Saturn has was a little bit odd. And now I kind of want to talk about why he might have these rubber-like abilities. And this goes back to Onigashima, the raid in Wano. Because during that raid, we fought some really, really cool characters, man. We had Sasaki, we had Queen, we had King, and Ulti in page 1. It was great, it was great. And if you paid attention to those fights, one running gag that was among the Beast Pirates was that some of them didn't know how dinosaurs worked. Sasaki was a Triceratops, but what could he do? He could take his, sorry, I'm not a great dinosaur expert, but he took his headpiece and he was able to spin it around his neck as if it was a propeller and fly and attack Frankie. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think Triceratops did that. Sorry, I'm not a caveman, right? I wasn't back there millions of years ago, but I don't think Triceratops did that. Maybe it's like the Ushi Oni where I'm just missing that bit of lore, but I highly doubt this one. We go to Queen. Queen is able to shoot out his neck like he's a snake and then reattach it. And no, that is not one of Queen's quirky technology things. No. Queen said that is how Brachiosauruses functioned in the past. And then we had King. He's a pterodon, but he was able to stretch his head backwards and use it like a slingshot against Zoro. These guys had some weird abilities, despite being ancient Zoans. But now, here comes the outlier in this situation. Page 1 and Ulti. Page 1 and Ulti turned into their dinosaur forms, but they didn't have any of the quirky gimmicks that the other Beast Pirates had. Why is that? Why did these guys, Page 1 and Ulti, function like normal dinosaurs, whereas Sasaki, Queen, and King did not? Well, in chapter 1018's cover page, we had a reader requested one where somebody asked Oda to draw Page 1 and Ulti reading a picture book while they're playing with plushies. very oddly specific in my opinion. But what's notable is that the book that Oda has them read in this cover page is actually a book about dinosaurs. And this is kind of where I think the distinction comes in. I think the reason why Sasaki, Queen, and King, for example, can use these weird abilities is because that is what they imagined that dinosaurs could do. And I think it's the same thing for Page One and Ulti, because they read a book about dinosaurs and they understood that this is how... I forgot their models. I'm so sorry. But because Page One and Ulti read about their own dinosaur model, they know that they don't have any weird abilities like the other Beast Pirate members. And I think this is very important, because this does tie back into what Vegapunk said when he was explaining Devil Fruits. Devil Fruits are the desire of mankind. They are dreams. They are imagination. And this even ties into what we saw with Bonnie trying to tap into the Sun God Nika future. So when Bonnie hits Saturn with her Gear Third Punch and sees that it does no damage, she comes to realize that her powers are waning. They are fading. They're getting weaker. And Saturn makes a really interesting comment. He says that the reason why she can't tap into the Nika future is simply because her faith in Sun God Nika is wavering. She's starting to believe that Sun God Nika doesn't exist. Her imagination is Xing Sun God Nika out. And what's interesting is that Saturn says this while knowing that Luffy right there is Sun God Nika. Saturn must know that imagination plays a key role in how people are able to utilize their devil fruits and expand their abilities. Imagination and the power of belief is a really scary thing, and I think Saturn knows exactly how to use those to his advantage. Why does Saturn, the potential user of the Ushi Oni Zoan Devil Fruit, have venom? It's because he believes he has venom. Why does he have rubber abilities? Well, it's because he thinks he has rubber abilities. It's his imagination that allows him to fight so freely. So with all that being said, this brings us to the next oddity about Saturn, and that is the fact that he can constantly regenerate. While yes, Saturn has taken a lot of damage, well, okay, I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. Even though Saturn seemingly should have taken a lot of damage, he has managed to heal through it time and time again. Even Luffy says, yo, my punches are not working, right? Like, this guy just will not stay down. What is happening? He's like Mr. X. I think the reason why Saturn can regenerate endlessly is because what we're fighting right now... Okay, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm totally cool with being wrong. I just want to throw that out right here. But what I'm starting to believe more and more with each chapter is that what we're fighting here on Egghead Island might just be a product of Saturn's imagination. So back when Saturn first arrived here on Egghead Island, there was a theory going around, made by a lot of people, really. I've seen this theory a lot, but people were saying that Saturn is actually still on the Marine ship. And I will admit, at the time, that theory seemed pretty plausible, because when you go back to the chapter where he showed up, Saturn never set foot on Egghead Island, right? He was on the ship one minute, and then the next minute, you hear an announcement saying that Saint Saturn has made landfall. We don't see Saint Saturn actually step down here. We have not seen the human version of Saint Saturn at all here on this island. No, when we saw the magic circle pop up, Saturn was immediately awakened, immediately transformed. It was kind of crazy, right? Because Kaido went through the phases, right? You know, usually these villains love to start in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Saturn started at like phase 3. You know, just saying it right here. Saturn came out swinging. And it does kind of make me wonder if there's a reasoning for that. And maybe that is because his real body is on the ship. So yeah, I am very much starting to believe that if we want to damage Saint Saturn, we have to go after his real body. And you could say that this is like a gimmick fight, right? And I do admit that is one thing I definitely do not like about this theory, but maybe there's ways around this, and maybe that has to do with Haki, right? We saw Shanks use his Conqueror's Haki, and it zip-zapped around the battlefield and hit Green Bull from miles away. Maybe we'll come to find a way to use that type of Haki on Saint Saturn and damage his real body. Because at the end of the day, you know, even if this were the case and what we're fighting right here isn't the real Saint Saturn, it still has some faint connection to Saturn. Maybe Luffy can hit this body of Saturn and send Haki so powerful that it hits the real body as well. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing with ideas here, but I do like this route a lot more and more because it's the only thing that makes sense to me right now. Other than throwing Saint Saturn in the ocean, I have no clue how to hurt him. One idea I was kind of toying with was that maybe the Giants had a way to hurt Saint Saturn, and I still like that idea, but I don't know if it would be a new version of hockey unless it's what we talked about a second ago. So I started leaning towards maybe it has to do with their weapons, maybe it has to do with the materials in their weapons, but I do think that'd be kind of a strange answer since not all of the Straw Hats use weapons. Like, let's say it is Sea Stone or it is some magic stone that allows Luffy to hurt the Gorosei. I think the problem with that is that Luffy is a straight up boxer. You know, he's not going to start wielding a katana. He's not going to start putting on boxing gloves. Oh, okay, the boxing glove thing is actually pretty good. But, you know, I can't see Luffy using weapons for the rest of the series is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know how I feel about the Elbaf option right now. But hey, I don't want to count that out just yet. So now, last thing I want to talk about, and this one is definitely my weirdest idea with Saint Saturn and the Gorosei, but I just watched Shark Boy and Lava Girl not too long ago. I know, laugh it up, right? Laugh it up. But here's the thing. I saw something in that movie that I actually thought could be a pretty cool premise here in One Piece. So we know One Piece and Devil Fruits and powers and wills all have to do with dreams. The power of dreams. And that is something that goes on in Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Actually, in Shark Boy and Lava Girl, they can only access their powers when they're dreaming and using their imagination. And one of the strongest powers in Shark Boy and Lava Girl is the ability to daydream, to sleep with your eyes open, to sleep, but also still be fully cognition. So I'm like, hey, what if Saturn has an ability like that? What if that's what's going on right here? These guys are awake and talking, but they're using their minds to project themselves outwards. I don't know. Like I said, crazy idea, but I wouldn't be surprised if Oda does introduce some form of daydreaming into the series. I mean, hell, we didn't expect Gear 5th Luffy until it happened, right? So anything's possible, anything's possible. So now that the other Gorosei are being summoned here, what the heck is going to happen? Are we going to be fighting 5 unstoppable monsters? Are they all going to be able to regenerate like Saint Saturn? I think so. The fact that we saw the 4 other Gorosei members in this chapter at Marie Joie is kind of what pushed me to make this video and talk about the theory again about how the real body of Saint Saturn is not here on this island. Because I do think the real bodies of the other Gorosei member are still going to be at Marie Joie. I think all of these dudes are going to come in and be regenerating monsters unless we have, you know, this crazy Shanks Wi-Fi hockey that connects them like an Ethernet cord. I think that is what's going to go down here. And come next chapter, the one thing that would signal the green on this theory would be if all 4 Gorosei members who are showing up here are immediately in their awakened Zoan demon monster forms. If we do not see their human bodies here or human forms here, I'm gonna believe in this theory even more, right? I feel like every week I'm like putting 10% of my stock into this theory. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And one thing that I'm actually looking forward to as well is what they're all gonna look like when we get the giant reveal panel with all 5 of the Gorosei members. Because just a couple chapters ago, we got a really cool panel where all of the giants were, you know, they're all walking down here to Egghead Island. They were coming in from left to right. And when you look at the final page of this chapter, 1109, the Gorosei are coming in from right to left. So it looks like we're about to see 2 opposing forces meet. That's not the case because only Dory and Brogy are coming here and the rest of the giants are staying behind. But it's a really nice parallel how Oda is showing that, you know, the good guys are coming in from that side and the bad guys are coming in from that side. It very much reminds me of the Night Parade of 100 Demons, which is something Jujutsu Kaisen used for JJK Zero, but it is a trope in some yokai demon animes. So I think that the Gorosei, if they're all yokais, I think this right here would be Oda's showcase of his version of the Night Parade, which would be pretty awesome, man. I love yokai. I love demons, man. If you give me a cool design in One Piece, I'm gonna love it no matter what. So now, last thing I want to touch on is the telepathy ability, because in this chapter, you know, Saint Saturn, even though his, you know, real body isn't talking, he can somehow communicate to the other Gorosei members. And I've seen people saying that this could be a Emu satellite ability. And I like that because, you know, back when we came to this island, Vegapunk said that all the technology that he has here existed in the Void Century, but it was even better. So I do put a lot of stock in that theory. I think it sounds very plausible, but I don't think they are Emu's satellite. And the main reason why is because that would mean they're all different versions of Emu themselves. And I don't think that's the case. And I also don't think that this telepathy works with Emu. Or maybe it does if Emu sends it to them, but not the other way around. Because every time the Gorosei have to talk to Emu, it's either through a Dendenmushi, which, you know, if you have telepathy, you don't have to use a Dendenmushi, right? So I don't think Emu can communicate in that regard. And also, we saw twice that the Gorosei showed up to the throne room to talk to Emu. So I don't think that Emu and the Gorosei are connected in that regard. I still think they're connected, but just not like that. I think this could just be a different power altogether. It could be some Void Century technology that we're witnessing, but I'm not exactly sure yet. But yeah, pretty much I made this video to say I don't know. But hey, with that being said, thank you guys so much for stopping by and checking out this video. Sorry if there wasn't like a concrete point to this. I kind of just wanted to talk about powers, One Piece, dreams, and all that good stuff. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about all the points I brought up. What do you think about these theories? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Do you have your own theory? And if you do, share it, right? That's the beauty of One Piece. Nobody has to be 100% correct. And I think that's what's always fun about having these discussions, right? Because there's some times where I just put out a video and I have one idea, and then Oda says, nah, dude, like I'm gonna go the opposite route. And it's fun being wrong sometimes, right? But also what I do like, last thing, I swear to God, one thing that I do like about the daydreaming theory from Shark Boy and Lava Girl is that this could tie into Blackbeard and how he doesn't sleep, right? Blackbeard doesn't sleep, but I do think Blackbeard dreams. He could be a daydreamer. But with that being said, catch you guys later. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.